Hello, lovely podcast people. I hope you are well. A very quick podcast today, I should think. This one, if you're not a regular, if you wouldn't call yourself a fan of the podcast, this one probably isn't for you. Don't really know the exact topic. It's come from basically having a chat with some of the mentees in our mentoring lab. And I just thought it was quite useful information, but it's niche. So yes, that's why I've given that preface. One listener messaged me recently and said, I sent I think it was the creatine podcast to her dad, who's in his, 60s, 70s. And it's just cool. I love that people are, she said, he'll really like listening to that one. That's cool. I don't know, it's just good that people listen to stuff on TV. It's probably a reason I should be a bit more professional in these podcasts, but hey, I can only be myself. If I pretended to be really prim and proper, and then people's parents would be like, yes, the man on the radio said, or the man on the science-based information podcast, as opposed to some joker. Basically people on television, no matter what they say, just people believe it because it's on TV, even though 90% of the time they're clueless. Hashtag Dr. lol. Michael Mosley, who's never practiced a day of medicine in his life. But the whole doctor thing. Anyway, I'm off topic. What I wanted to talk about really, this is probably a wisdom episode. And it's come from essentially a practitioner whose client is adamant that Diet Coke, and I suppose the sweeteners within it, she's read somewhere they trick the body into thinking it's had sugar and causes an insulin release. I have got a thorn in my hand under the skin. Remember what I was saying about professional? Yeah. And he's kind of said, I've looked back through old M&U notes and in the mentoring lab, and I can't find anything showing this. And, it was my understanding that it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to check. She's adamant, da, da, da. And I said, and essentially, this individual's also very carb phobic and stuff like that. And so my response was, there's two parts to your question here. One, the science. And this bit's the really easy bit because... the burden of proof is on the person making the claim. So if she's claiming, studies have shown, it's like, okay, show me the studies. And if it comes back to, I saw it on YouTube, this guy said, that's not adequate. This is the reason we have science. I've said this before. If we're having a scientific discussion, fantastic. If we're having a discussion based on beliefs, it's irrelevant. We're not playing. It's apples and oranges. We're not playing on the same playing field. The celery juice gimp. I've forgotten his name. Andrew something or other. Is it? Don't know. The medical medium goon. The one who waved his hands around Kim Kardashian's body and, I think I've got some heavy metal deposits in your kidneys. And there's this funny bit where I don't know what this was on, like Wives of Kardashian. I don't know, one of those programs. I don't know, does she have her own reality TV show? Anyway, he's in her kitchen or something. He waves his hands around her head and goes, yeah, no, nothing in there. And so the other woman, her sister, her friend, whatever, just bursts out laughing because he's basically gone, yeah, you've got no brains. But he realizes this is like, I can't believe they kept it on the show. Well, I guess, it's TV, isn't it? And then he gets all embarrassed. He's like, no, I mean nothing to be concerned about. Anyway, so waving his hands around. So, he's the celery juice guy. He's, it's a worldwide fad trend. People come into me and say, who says he's wrong and you're right? And I'm like, well, because there's no one's ever bothered to do a study on cancer and celery juice because it's so far beyond ridiculous that no one's going to do the study. There are scientists out there looking at stuff in Petri dishes to see if we can find stuff. This is, many drugs come from natural sources, etc. But The problem being is, like, if you want to believe a man who basically, he's a medical medium, he believes that spirits tell him stuff and he's then this vessel to teach us stuff. Now, I can't debate that from a scientific standpoint, one that we all understand. He can make up his own rules for reality. And if you want to go along that line, it's like, I'm not going to tell you what religion is right or wrong for you. If you have one, I'm not going to go, haven't you considered this other religion or no religion or whatever? Like, cool, knock yourself out. But if you want a scientific answer with, from an evidence-based standpoint, which, you live most of your life based on, it's like, okay, you turn on a light switch, that came from a scientist, scientific principles that govern all different things in terms of electricity and, gravity. Someone, please prove energy balance is a bit like saying, please prove gravity. I think I've said that before in a podcast. Anyway, going back a few steps, the burden of proof, she's making this claim, and so it's up to her, if it's a proper discussion, there you go, I found my way again, to provide a reference, an evidence-based scientific reference, peer-reviewed, using, sound scientific principles, using, and again, having some understanding. It's difficult when someone's like, debate Martin, why aren't you going to debate me? Like I've had gimps for years going, debate me. And I'm like, what's the point? Like, we can't debate because you're going to throw a study out and I'm going to go, yeah, didn't use a placebo, didn't use a control group. And you're going to go, yeah, no, but the study showed, and you don't understand the study well enough. Or they, I'm saying they, or, well, this one in rats and this one in mice and this study showed. I'm like, yeah, in a Petri dish. Lots of the gluten studies, I say lots, one or two, the only ones that are there, in terms of, gluten, it damages us, it pokes holes in the walls of our intestine, the gliadin protein. And, studies are done on animals in some instances using astronomically high doses that we just simply couldn't attain from food. And, aside from that, so that's animal studies. Aside from that, we've got like in vitro studies. So these are ones where we're just looking at isolated cells. So like alkaline water type studies, you put a cancer cell in a Petri dish and you just pour an alkaline substance on it. Like, that isn't what, you're not bathing your body in that kind of way. You're not ripping out chunks of your tissue and putting it in a bowl and pouring this water. Like, you're drinking it. It's going into your mouth. It's going into your stomach. It's mixing with, the acidic environment of your stomach before it goes. Like, it's just silliness. So again, like putting cells in Petri dishes and exposing them to, the glutens is not what happens when you eat some pasta or a piece of bread and the way things are broken down. And the concentrations that are possible and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I said it was going to be a short podcast. It still will be, because my summary point is this. It's like, okay, I said to him, it's up to her. But at the same time, you can also provide, there are several studies with all different, non-caloric artificial sweeteners that show they don't raise insulin. And even just from a mechanistic standpoint, if you were drinking a Diet Coke and it spiked your insulin and you're not feeding glucose, you'd be going into a coma. Because insulin would be plummeting your, I drink, when I was bodybuilding dieting, I was drinking 2 liters of Pepsi Max a day. Like, yes, there are other issues going on there. But anyway, I would have been in a coma real fast. And then I said, but the second part of your question is the tricky bit. And I think this is what was supposed to be the podcast. And, how long have I been talking now? 10 plus minutes maybe. And I've only just got here and it's going to be a short summary. But this is kind of for practitioners, but just for people, like, it's just part of communication. And there's actually 2 things I want to get across. One is the dichotomy that is created in people's head. And I've felt the dichotomy as I was responding to him. And it's what I've talked about people putting people in boxes. Like, I am a white, kind of successful, mostly straight, Male. What are the other things that make me a bad person? CIS is one of those things, which I just believes I'm the same gender as I was when I was born or whatever. I don't know. All these things, I'm basically enemy number one in the 21st century, right? And I'm in good shape-ish, based on societal standards. I've got good teeth-ish. Let's just compliment me. I've run out. Funny. I'm funny. Confident. That's another one, isn't it? Confident really rubs people up the wrong way. Self-assured, high self-esteem. Anyway, it makes it difficult when I put, when I post stuff saying that I've been crying, when I say, I'm an emotional person. I cry when I watch films. I cry whenever my babies do something cute. There's variations of crying. There's like welling up. There's like, I will often be in bed just like looking at cute videos of my children, or like, even just like I follow lots of like good feeling Instagram pages, and I'll just be lying there and like I'll have tears running down my face of just like nice stuff. And I think people are just like, when I write that, it makes them uncomfortable. It's like, are you really crying? Are you really? And like when I respond to people, like people will send me stuff like, you've changed my life. I, thought I was never going to have a child. You've given me all this advice. Literally this morning, someone has sent me a photo of their newborn baby. Like literally, like I can't believe she sent it. I'm allowed to use your name, right? Sharon. Like, you don't know her surname. Sharon, I don't even know if you're a podcast listener, but like, it's unbelievable. Like, she's still in hospital and she's taken a picture of her baby lying there, brand new, beautiful little boy. I posted it on my story. Like, this is like 4 a.m. this morning, just thanking me. And it's like, I well up. Like, it's unbelievable that I've been able to help in that way. Anyway, so this dichotomy is just different stuff, like the fact that I care about charity stuff, like the is it called the Vagrants Act in the UK? Like, I've been part of the petitions, kind of sharing it with people, privately. I haven't done it on my story. I always feel a bit awkward about that stuff. Just, it can get a bit much, can't it? And I get that. But, in terms of finding homeless people, like, this is stuff I do in my personal life. And it's just like, oh, you're just this joker who makes, who enjoys a sexual innuendo, and, you like going to the gym and taking your top off and taking pictures, you're arrogant, you're blah. That's what people look and see and judge. Anyway, my point of this being is like, and it links to some stuff I've heard said before about, like being a warrior. Don't be weak, be a warrior that's able to control it. Something like Joe Rogan sort of repeats that, and people use it on TikToks and whatever. But there's something to be said. Essentially, I said to him, do you really need to prove her wrong? Like, does it matter that she doesn't, like, you don't need to force her to have Diet Coke, right? So why do you need to convince her wrong? And then essentially I wrote, whilst, I'll give you the real, honest, transparent answer. I wrote, a reason to, if she's talking to your other clients and undermining you and leading other people astray, like, or posting on social media, sometimes there's a argument that, going and correcting that advice is good and it's helpful and you're stopping other people being misled. I said that is a reason to tackle this issue. And then I typed, showing her that she's an idiot is not a reason. And then I thought, she's not an idiot for believing that necessarily. Like, we're all idiots, let's be honest. But people, I say idiot very, what's the word? Loosely. No. Very easily. It's quite an insulting term to be called an idiot. And I'm like, but just, if we all just realise how we're just idiots, the world would be a better place. Learn to laugh at yourself. Learn to realise that you're an idiot, because we just are. We're emotional beings. We're idiots sometimes. Doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It's just, like in a relationship, have you never been an idiot? Yes, you have. So you're an idiot. You've got it within you. It's all part of us. Accept it. Move on. You'll be able to be a lot more happy. And you won't be so proud. Like, I know I'm an idiot. I know I'll make mistakes. And therefore, I'm not proud. I'm not scared to go, I was wrong. I used to think, like, this is the funny thing, right? Like, there are articles, or there were, I'm sure you can find stuff on the internet, me saying stupid stuff about insulin, because the internet doesn't die, which is a real shame sometimes. But anyway, so I changed it to proving her wrong, because that's still this, like, self-serving. Like some people just get off, like a lot of people get off on proving people wrong. Like it's a bit like, look at me, I'm the man, I'm the woman, I'm right, you're wrong. I saw this TikTok the other day, and it was like, it was a woman, and she was going like, wives be like, that was the sort of caption that she had done, and she was like, talking in the mirror, you know, I'm really sorry, I'm really blah blah blah. She was like, it was like really good conversation, and then she walks into what I presume is her husband, and she's just like, look, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need to sort your attitude out. And you know, it's just people are like that, right? And you can get off in it. So, you know, from one sense, I'm going that you may get a kick out of proving someone wrong. And it was just that there's two parts of this. One is just like this dichotomy that I just wanted to discuss because this is a throwaway podcast episode. And I just like to sort of point this out. I know there are certain listeners of my podcast who still haven't got me fully figured out. And it's just nice to just show a flavour of that. And then this second part of like when working with clients, and you know, a younger practitioner me would have felt it necessary to go, no, you're wrong, stop being dumb, stop being misled, I'm right, you're wrong, listen to me type scenario. Or even just not like that, it's like, I want to help you, like you're helpless, you're you know, misinformed, like you don't want to live your life being dumb type scenario. But realistically, does it matter? That was the kind of question I posed to him. Do you need to tackle this? Like, is it okay? Like, and when you come into the conversation like that, you can be a lot more compassionate. You can be a lot more sensitive to the situation of just, I really understand that you've heard this, you've seen this, you've maybe seen it in places that you hold in higher regard than myself as your nutritionist or whatever. And I get that. And I'm completely open to you finding those studies, like looking into that and sending them to me. Like I'll look at you with them. I'll do that on my own time, not during our, you know, consultations or paid sessions, whatever. You know, I'd love it if solicitors would do that. When you know, this bit's off the record, this bit's on me. You know, sometimes it's like. Anyway, this is so off topic. But being able to be more compassionate and just going, you know, I'm happy for you to hold that belief. I'm not trying to get you to drink Diet Coke. It was just, or any other diet drink. It was just, I want you to have that an option because the evidence shows to a small extent that maybe having these things can be useful during weight loss endeavors. For instance, they're certainly not necessary. I'm really happy for you to drink water. Fantastic. You know, end of discussion. If you want to, I can show you all of the studies that show that, you know, sucralose or aspartame or aspartame, don't lead to an insulin response if you want. End of discussion. Move on. Not breaking down and the reason I said that as well is like in other areas of life, that stuff can just be really helpful. You know, it's picking your battles, isn't it? I wanted to provide a bit of wisdom. It's very specific to practitioners. You know, even specific to some of you who just like to just go and debate nutrition on the internet. Man, there's so many topics within here. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope there's been some funny moments, some insightful moments, some, you know, you've got some insight into research when you're down the pub and someone's telling you that you can't eat bread. You've got some stuff to talk about there. I hope you've got what you want out of my podcast today. Please leave a review on iTunes or whatever. Anyway, until next time, much love.